Hey, Master Coach G here, thriving after 50, mind, body, soul. And I am going to continue our conversation about our emotional health and how it affects our physical health. Now, this is what we're going to be talking about because I want you to consider something here that's very, very important. Poor emotional health can weaken your body's immune system. Did you know that? Did you know that poor emotional health can weaken your body's immune system? This is more likely to put you at risk for colds, infections, viruses, things of that nature. So that's why we have to pay attention to our emotional health, because it does affect our physical health. And our immune system is very important. That is the one thing that fights for us when it comes to our physical health. Also, know this: when you are feeling stressed, anxious, upset, emotionally just torn, we do not take care of our health as we should. You know why? Because our focus is not on our physical health. Our focus is on the emotional stress, the emotional anxiousness that we're feeling. So we are not paying attention to that. But we need to understand that poor emotional health can weaken your immune system. And you need your immune system to fight off infections and colds and viruses and flus. So make sure you stay tuned as we talk about how our emotional health affects our physical health. This is Master Coach G. I'll see you on the other side. Hey, Master Coach G here, thriving after 50, mind, body, soul. Hey, thanks for joining me today on this episode. And I am continuing to talk about our emotional health and how it affects our physical health. Here's the thing: negative emotions, attitudes, and feelings of helplessness and hopelessness can create chronic stress. Okay? Now, please understand that helplessness and hopelessness is an emotion. Okay? And it creates chronic stress in your life, which upsets the body's hormone balance. Yes, absolutely affects our hormone balance. Not only that, but it depletes the brain's chemicals that's required for happiness. You know, we have like endorphins in our brain. Well, there's other chemicals in our brain that releases in our brain that helps us to be happy. And it damages our immune system. Yeah. When we have chronic stress, that weakens our immune system. Chronic negative emotions, it turns into stress. Okay. So understand that it's like steps to this thing. It's like steps where if you are constantly or every single day where you are in this emotional bag or emotional holding pattern, if you will, that's chronic. That's chronic. And that chronic negative emotions turns into stress. Okay? Now, here's the thing. When I say it affects our physical health, guess what? Chronic negative emotions turns into stress and can actually decrease our lifespan. Okay, let me say that again. Chronic negative emotions that turn into stress can actually decrease our lifespan. So here's some things I want you to consider. Poor emotional health weakens our immune system. This makes us more susceptible to colds, flus, infections, things of that nature. Our immune system is what fights for us. It fights off infections, it fights off diseases, it fights off anything that is coming against our body. Our immune system is what fights us. It's like, I was in the military, and when you go to war, you have your front line defenders, okay? And because I am from North Carolina and home of the 82nd Airborne Rangers, usually those were the first people that would go in. The Marines would go in first, and then you would have your line of defense. Our immune system is the same way. Our immune system fights the wars that come against us. Okay, whether it's a cold, a flu, infection, it doesn't matter. Our immune system is what fights that off. Okay, not the Theraflu. Okay, not the Alka-Seltzer cold. Okay, that's not what fights off the colds and the flu. Our immune system. If we keep our immune system healthy, then it will do its job, which will be fighting off those things. Also, when you're feeling stressed and anxious or upset, we do not take care of ourselves as we should. We don't take care of our health as we should. And I can, speak personally, because I am a gym shark. I don't like to call myself a gym rat, but I'm a gym shark. I go to the gym 5 days a week. But for me, when I am in a emotional tizzy, if you will, or I'm feeling upset or anxious, I go to the gym because it helps me with that stress. It helps me to be able to maintain being anxious. It helps me to be able to maintain me being upset, because I go in the gym and I get on the treadmill and then I do my weight training, and that helps me to be free of some of that stress. Okay, because when we are stressed, we don't take care of ourselves. We don't eat properly. We don't sleep properly. We definitely don't get physical activity in the way that we should. So that's the reason why it's really important that we understand that our emotions affect our physical health. So I highly recommend that when you are feeling anxious or upset or stressed, that you go out for a walk. Now, I'm not saying you got to go to the gym. That's my thing, and I'm not trying to put that off on anybody else. But what I am saying is that going for a walk will help you to relieve some of that anxiousness or being upset and stressed. That's why you have to pay attention. When the moment that you step into that zone, and it is a zone, once you step into that zone, you have to be aware of that. It's important to recognize your thoughts and your emotions, because once you're aware of it, then that's when you can do something about it. Because here's the thing, our emotions don't just affect us, it also affects other people. The people who are in our circle, people who are close to us. And so it just doesn't affect us mentally, physically, but it also affects our behavior. It also affects our relationships. Poorly managed negative emotions are not good for your health. I can't stress that enough. Poorly managed negative emotions are not good for our health. Negative attitudes and feelings of helplessness and hopelessness creates the chronic stress. It throws off our hormones. I mean, it's just our everything is just thrown off. Everything is just thrown off. And it also affects our brain. Yeah, because our brain releases chemicals that creates us to be in a happy place. Positive emotions lead to emotional resilience. I think in the last episode that I talked about resilience. And I think that we need to understand how important our emotional resilience is. It's really important. Positive emotions has a scientific purpose to help our bodies recover from ill effects of negative emotions. Okay, so when we're in a negative place emotionally, if we can turn that thing around by reframing our thoughts, scientifically it's proven that our bodies can recover from those negative emotions, and it can do it relatively quickly, thus cultivating positively over time can help us become more resilient. Now, here's the thing. Yes, you have to cultivate it, but here's the one thing that we do have to do before we can even start cultivating. We have to practice. If we can practice staying in a positive mindset, if we can practice staying positively healthy with our emotions, then we can reduce our stress levels and therefore become more resilient when we are facing crisis or stress. Here's the thing about emotional resilience. It's almost like a rubber band. No matter how far back you pull it, it has that resilience. And no matter how far we go in our emotional distress, if you will, that resilience that stretches and pulls us in the negative way, well, that resilience allows us the ability to bounce back to our original state. So that takes practice. It takes practice. So if you took a rubber band and you kept looking at it and you stretch it and you stretch it and you stretch it, you're going to see the resilience, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Because, and yeah, if you put it on something and it's stretched completely out of shape, then yes, it's not going to go back to its original form. However, we can replace those negative emotions with positive emotions to take us back to our original state. Resilient people are able to experience tough emotions like pain, sorrow, frustration, grief without falling apart. Now, not to say that it doesn't affect them. However, because they use the techniques and the tools to be able to go back to their original state, which is being emotionally healthy. Yes, we all experience pain and sorrow and frustration and even grief. But when you have that resilience, that helps you to be able to bounce back a lot quicker. Resilient people don't deny their pain and suffering that they're experiencing. Rather, they retain a sense of positivity that helps them overcome the negative effects of the situation. Okay, let me say that one more time. Resilient people do not deny the pain and the suffering that they're experiencing. Rather, they retain a sense of positivity that helps them overcome the negative effect that they're feeling at that moment. In fact, some people are able to look at challenging things at times with optimism and hope, knowing that their hardship will lead to personal growth and expand their outlook on life. So here's what I want you to take a look at is expressing your emotions. Okay, most of us are afraid to express strong emotions because we have this fear of losing control. So let's say we get angry, because that's a very strong emotion. And yes, it's easy to step over. I saw this post on Facebook, and this girl said, y'all better be glad I changed, because I used to could go from 0 to jail in 0.0 seconds. So yes, expressing your emotions, sometimes what happens is you start to feel like, if you're angry, and the more you talk about it and the more you feel it, the more angry you get, and the more you just lose it. You just start seeing red. You don't see no other color but red. Okay? So that's the reason why a lot of people are afraid to express their emotions, okay? But here's an exercise that can help you to own your own emotions and learn how to express them in a healthy way. A healthy, safe way, so that you don't step back over into that 0 to jail in 0.01 seconds, okay? Being able to identify what you're feeling right now at that moment. Whatever moment you're in, stop and identify it. That's going to be really important, okay? So we have to practice saying what we feel out loud. So, for example, if I feel angry, if I feel sad, if I feel scared, own it. Own the emotion. And it's okay to own it. Because by starting to express your emotions when you are alone and practicing that, saying, yes, I'm sad. And there's an exercise that I do want you to do. Just get a blank sheet of paper. And what I want you to do is to write on the blank sheet of paper, why am I sad? Why am I scared? Why am I angry? And examine whichever emotion that you're feeling, write it down and identify why you're feeling that. Because that's going to help you with practicing being able to share and express your emotions. Now, here's the thing. Please, 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 after you become comfortable with practicing this on your own, practice it with someone with whom you feel safe. A trusting relationship, not with just anybody, because you have to understand these are emotions and you have to make sure that you're safeguarding your emotions, but that the other person that you're sharing it with is also going to safeguard your emotions. And finally, begin to practice in more challenging situations. And remember not to blame yourself or anyone else. Just be open to whatever it is that you're experiencing at that time. And again, you have to be able to identify it. You got to be able to identify it. Because once you identify it, then you can work on that. So I want you to focus on understanding that when we are in a poor place, in a bad place with our emotions, that it does affect our immune system. And we need our immune system to be at its best, so that way we can stay at our best. That's what I have for you today in this episode. I hope it's added some value to your life. Thank you for joining me here on Thriving After 50, Mind, Body, Soul. Hey, if this podcast has been a benefit to you, could you subscribe, share it to someone else who may be going through some emotional changes in their life? And I want you to know that I really, really do appreciate you. Remember, knowledge applied is power. I'm Master Coach G, and I'll see you on the next level.